Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the brand spanking new Benchmade 945. So new, it's actually not quite out yet. It's coming out in a couple weeks. It is available on pre-order lots of places if you want to go check that out. This was provided to me by Benchmade, so thank you very much to Benchmade for doing that. Usual disclosure, maybe it's the best quality control, blah, 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 like Shabazz says. But I'm very happy to have had this for quite some time. I did an unboxing of this quite a while ago. I think more than a couple months ago. And I just haven't done the full review because it got delayed for some reason. I don't really know why. I didn't ask Benchmade why it was delayed, but it is now finally coming out in a couple weeks. So I wanted to finally do the review on this. But I've had it for a while, been carrying it a lot, been very much enjoying it. I did review the 945 BK-2, I think it was called, the one with the black blade and the G10 handles. You can go back and look at that. But I've spent a lot more time with the 945 now, so this is going to be a much more thorough review. It's almost like a long-term review and first review all at the same time of a knife that hasn't come out yet. It's kind of a weird thing. But yeah, so this is the quote-unquote basic Benchmade 945. It's still a little bit more expensive than that 945 BK-2. It's $175. And that's kind of what they did before. Kind of look at it as the 940-2, versus the regular 940. The Dash 2 was a little bit less expensive with the G10. The aluminum's a bit more. But this is kind of the iconic configuration, I guess is the best way to describe it. The usual green aluminum, just like you see on the regular 940, and the purple standoff. So yeah, if you haven't figured it out yet, this is a mini 940, basically, but they call it the 945. It's an Osborne design still. It's all the things you like about a 940, but smaller. And I'm going to say when we get to it, one thing is I think significantly better, that being the blade. We'll talk more about that as we get to it. But fairly small knife, but the ergos still work pretty well for me. We'll talk more about it, but it's still, unless you have big giant meat hands, it's still going to fit okay. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to fit okay. And again, just a much smaller package. So let's do some specs and some size comparisons and talk more about some comparisons to the 940. You have a blade length of 2.9 inches, overall length of 6.7 inches, blade thickness 0.10 inches, so a little bit thinner than the 940, handle thickness 0.41, and a weight of just 2.2 ounces for this aluminum version. And do some size comparisons here. We will break out the usual Spydercos, and then we're going to do an extra Benchmade on here. So we have the PM2 and the Para 3. You can see it's smaller than either of those. And then we're going to change things up ever so slightly. And I want to talk more about the 940, so we'll bring that out last. So let's do the full-size bug out. Unfortunately, I do not have a mini bug out at the moment, so I'm kind of hoping they come out with this version of the mini bug out, and I'll pick up one of those. This is the carbon fiber S90V, the Dash 3, I think. I hope I'm right about that. And the Super Freak in the S90V in carbon as well. So the Mini Freak, sorry. Mini Super Freak, whatever you want to call it. It's even a little bit smaller than the Mini Freak. And now we will bring out the regular 940, because that is the one that you guys probably want to see the most comparisons about. This is a 940-1, getting the S90 carbon. And you can see it's significantly, if you're going to call this a mini 940, it's a significantly minier 940. It is quite a bit smaller. And not just in that one dimension, the blade stock is also thinner, 0.12 versus 0.10. So significantly thinner on the blade stock, and that makes a lot of difference on the blade. So let's just get into that. Still S30V steel in this basic one, but one problem I've always had with the 940, I love the 940. It's a true icon, but it's never been much of a slicer. It's 29 thousandths behind the edge, and that 0.12 inch blade stock and that saber grind. Good piercer, all that stuff. Not a good slicer. This one is. It's a 940 that actually does slice more than pretty good. It slices very, very well. 18 thousandths behind the edge and that much thinner blade stock. It's actually a pretty darn good slicer. So very much like that, but you still have a pretty robust tip on it. Not bad at all. So it's I think that's the biggest improvement on this knife. I wish they put this blade on the full size. That would be my dream 940. It's so nice to have a 940 that actually, because I love that Osborne blade shape, but on the 940 it just never sliced very well unless you reprofile it, where this one you don't need to. Out of the box, very, very good slicer. Ergonomics, pretty good. Like I said, I have large size gloves, but still fairly skinny fingers. I fit all 4 fingers on it, but not by much. The pocket clip, you can definitely feel the ramp on it. It has this mini split arrow clip. You can definitely feel it, but it's not the end of the world. I will say I usually run it with a bug out clip, and it does work. Actually, I just swapped them out just for the sake of this video, because I put it on the Mini Freak just so I wouldn't lose track of it. But honestly, on the Mini Freak, the bug out clip doesn't work that well because it digs into your hand. But on the 945, it actually works all right, because again, it's a little bit smaller knife and it doesn't hit in a bad spot. I prefer the carry of it on the bug out clip, and I think that's probably what it should come with. But this one works all right. It's just a little hot spot from the ramp, but not too bad. Other than that, it's 940. It's a fairly thin handle. If you're used to that feel of a 940, this feels about the same. It's a little slimmer, but you don't really notice it that much. It's not like a hand filler or anything like that, but it's okay. Ergonomics are probably its weakest point, but it's still all right. Nothing I would make me throw it out or anything like that. As far as the carry goes, bring out Levi's here. It's tiny and it does not weigh much, so yeah, carries pretty good. And again, this is another point where I think the bug out clip would be better. It would be completely disappear. It's why I usually use it with a bug out clip. So I just think it should have the bug out clip, I guess, is the long story short. But other than that, it carries very well. Hand slips past it, all that stuff. It's barely there. It's easy to forget that it's in your pocket. It's almost like, bug out territory as far as that goes, or mini bug out territory. It's just, it does disappear in the pocket. It's a complete pleasure to carry. As far as the action goes, it's a Benchmade. This one is well broken in, because like I said, I've had it for quite some time. It did come centered and all that stuff. It's, all the qualities there. I didn't have to do anything to it. I've never even torn this apart or lubed it or anything. And it just broke in really nice, and it's been a really good that way. So what are my overall conclusions here? It's a smaller 940, which is nice. I don't usually love green in a knife, but I am happy to see it in this more iconic color. I thought it was kind of odd that they released the BK-2 before they released the iconic one, but I guess they want to release the least expensive one first. It's not that much less expensive, but $175 for S90V in aluminum. Yeah, people are going to complain about it, and you're probably justified in doing that. I will say it does feel like a very quality, very well put together knife, and it is just a design that everybody wanted to see smaller for years. And it is nice to see one, especially if you live in an area where you have to carry 3 inches or less. This is completely uncontroversially less than 3 inches, and I think especially, and maybe if you're just a person with smaller hands, especially if you're just a person with smaller hands, I would get this over the 940, because the blade is so much better as far as just slicing and cutting things. Your usual EDC tasks, the kind of things you're going to use a knife this size for, it's way better. So yeah, if you have smaller hands, I would definitely go this route. If you get bigger hands, I'd probably get the full size. The weight difference isn't that huge of a difference. Again, if you've got bigger hands and live in a place where you don't have to have a sub 3 inch, yeah, get the bigger one. But other than that, or if you just want, a companion, if you're just a 940 person and you want the big one and the small one, then yeah, get one of these. But I'm not usually a fan of green, but it's the icon, so I'm all right with it. And the BK-2 has a coated blade, and my hatred of coated blades outweighs my dislike of green. So I'm fine with this one. And my first 940 was an REI edition, which is green G10 with the purple standoffs, much like this. But I've just gotten kind of used to it on 940s. But yeah, I really like it. But again, it does have its caveats. It does have a little hot spot, and the ergonomics aren't going to be for big-handed people, for not just the length, but also just it's not going to fill your hand very well. But if you've got smaller hands or are just prepared to deal with that, or can get a bug-out clip, which makes it better, then go ahead and do that. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've had this knife for quite a while. I'm glad to finally be able to do a review of it. I may even still be jumping the gun a little bit. I think it's available in 13 days or something like that, according to the Benchmade site right now. So check out your favorite local retailer. See if you can pre-order it if you want to get one. I've been Brian. Have a good one.